explain how to export your file, how to package it so that all your materials come together into one folder so that you may turn it in and I can look at them. And then you should be set with this project. So it'll all be here for you to refer back to. So you have all your 1, 2, 3, 4 business cards here. If I tap on and off, you can see that my bleeds are there. I've pulled out my bleed for my full bleed of black there. Everything's snapping neatly to the edges. In this case, I've done something a little unusual, but I'm snapping all my aligned text as so. Here, I'll just pull this so that it's a little more neat. Even this I can neatly snap. And then I'll click Save. I've gone ahead and also renamed. You can see right here, I've renamed actually last name first, and I'm sorry that I said otherwise, but I realized that the files are going to, that your names come last name first in the grade books. So if you could please, when you turn your file, your final file in, put your last name first, _ business card, and that's fine. You don't need to put the week. So now we're ready to go. I'll hit File, Export, then Adobe PDF Print, Save. I want to select just an overall Adobe preset. Sometimes when you're just sending something quick to someone that isn't going to be printed and it needs to stay small for email, you can do a small size. But we want something that's going to look pretty crisp or as crisp as possible. So I'm going to select press quality. The other thing I want to make sure I have are marks and bleeds. So I come in here and I make sure that I have my crop mark checked. And then I also come down here and make sure that I have my bleed settings checked. And what that's going to do is make sure that the bleeds are pulled out. Otherwise, it will ignore those. They're already in there because we set up the document with the bleeds and I pulled them out in the file. So I'll go ahead and hit Export. That's going to be sent to my desktop, which I'm going to now go and find. I think I'm going to just have to open up because I'm in this recording mode. I'm going to click Acrobat, File, Open, and it should be on my desktop. Here it is, Levitt _BC. I open it up and here we go. Everything has the crop marks, and you'll see here that the bleed overlaps or underlaps those crop marks because the idea is that the trim would, that my blade would cut right into that black so that it would be a crisp edge of black. So now I'll hit File, Export to Image because our final file is meant to be a JPEG. I'm just going to save this to my desktop, but I'm going to put it in a folder. So I'm going to put Levitt Business Cards. I'll just say BC Create. And I'll double check my settings. You want to make sure they're set to maximum file settings under, I just put grayscale and color, but really these are at grayscale. And that I set the resolution to 300 PPI because that is standard printing resolution. Figma is this kind of weird online space and everything's high resolution because most of us are on retina screens and whatnot, but by printing at, or by exporting at 300 DPI, it's pretty good. So I'll click OK, and then I'll click Save, and I can close that now. I'm going to minimize my window and come back to our Figma. Here we all are. And I can zoom in, hold the space bar, and our little hand, grabbing hand shows up. And just to, I normally could drag from the desktop, but the app I'm using doesn't allow that to record. So I'm going to go to File, place image and Levitt BC. And let's see if it'll let me do this. It wasn't letting Thomas. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can go through and align these. And as I think you all just figured out that it does some nice alignment for you and sort of naturally helps you snap into these consistent alignments. Although you have to be careful because you can get yourself in trouble if you trust that too much. For this, since we're just doing a critique, it's no problem, but you do have to be careful for that, when you're doing a real life print job. Okay, I'm gonna delete that for now, close this, and show you one last thing, which is I'm gonna come back to InDesign. And when you finish a job, you package it for either to send to a printer, so you send all the files that they might need, although like I said, these days usually a PDF is good enough, or you send them the native files, so in the InDesign file, the fonts, and any placed images. So, and if you're not printing this, you want to file it away in case you need to access it again. So archive it. In your case, you may need to you will need to archive stuff in case you're going to use it again for your sophomore portfolio. So get into the habit of packaging your files nicely. You can also do this in InDesign. Sorry, in Illustrator. So how do I do this? Here it is under File, Package. I have this option. It even gives me this little summary that it doesn't have any links or images, but it would tell me if, for instance, some of those images have RGB information in them, which is not ideal for printing. You're not meant to use that for printing. It's telling me I have 2 fonts used. It's telling me, what would be using process inks and spot inks, and I'll talk about that later. It tells me about which fonts I have and where they're located, and if there were any images, it would put that here. So it collects all this information for you. You don't have to go and do all that collecting yourself. Then I package, and I tell it, it then renames it whatever the name of the file is plus the word folder. So it collects them all into the folder, and I tell it I want to copy the fonts, linked graphics, and you want to make sure any links that are not connected are connected. And then in the folder, you can tell it to also include an IDML file, which is basically a file, an InDesign file that someone with an older version of InDesign can open. That's a good idea. You don't need to do that for me because I am running the newest version of InDesign. But if you're sending to a printer, they often are not. And then also include a PDF. That's great because it's a great reference. In case things open up and things have shifted, a PDF is always very solid and looks pretty good. So I click package. It tells you, hey, by the way, I hope you know you aren't meant to be sharing fonts. When you're sending them to a printer, it's okay because supposedly you have licensed them to use. Click OK. It says then it collects them all. And you can't see this on my desktop, but it has collected those in a folder. Then you will zip that folder and put it onto into our Basecamp. So I'll go to Basecamp, onto my Basecamp, 200 docs and files, turn-ins, exercises, and it will be in the business card. So you'll have to, you may have to zip it, but you may be able to just upload a folder. I actually, well, let's just give it a try. Let's do upload files. Let's see what it will let me do. So it was this one, the folder, and you can see here it's got it's pulled together all my fonts, the IDML, which is the InDesign file that will hold older, or that will open on older versions of InDesign, the current InDesign, and then a PDF. So if I click open, let's see if it will, no, it just brought in that one PDF. I'm going to close that. Let's see what happens if I, again, upload files and I go back. No, you'll have to zip the file and then upload it. So that is it. This is where you'll end up putting your zipped folder of collected files. So these will have to go away. I understand why you put them here, but these will have to go away. I hope all of that is helpful, and if anything was unclear, just go ahead and rewind, and if it's unclear from there, then I guess we'll talk about it on Monday. All right, thanks everyone.